Alright, hey everyone, GratuiTous from Beatstruggles.com, and in this video I want to give you guys a rundown on the M Audio SBX10 and also kind of give you guys some thoughts on is having a subwoofer beneficial to you with your home studio and stuff like that. So I'll first start with a subwoofer. Is it beneficial to your studio? And the answer is yes. The only thing with the sub is many times you have to be cautious of if you have neighbors or if you're living above someone, all that kind of stuff, because, you know, low frequencies, your bass, it travels a lot further than high frequencies. So if you can get a sub, I would recommend it, but you know, depending on your living situation, you know, you may not be able to have a sub. But the reason why you'd want a subwoofer is simply just so you can hear your bass line. A lot of speakers, they only you know, go to maybe like 80 hertz or like 50 hertz, 60 hertz, that kind of stuff, like depending on how big your speaker is. So if you only have like a 5-inch speaker, you have no idea how your bottom end really sounds, you know what I mean? And then if you have like a bigger speaker, like an 8-inch speaker, you're still getting into those lower frequencies, but not as low as your sub can get you. And so now, like when it comes to mixing, and you know, if you're making like hip hop or like EDM, you know, more bass heavier music, you know, how can you mix your music properly if you can't even hear the low end? And that's the whole point of having a sub, you know what I mean? Now, before going into the review of the M Audio SBX10, I just want to talk to you guys about levels. So like volume levels. So on most subwoofers, they have a knob called crossover. And all that is it's pretty much just like a low pass filter, and it filters out the high end. And depending on the type of speaker you have, that's where you're gonna adjust this crossover point. So like I was saying before, like if you have only a 5-inch speaker, you're not going to get as low of bass, but if you have an 8-inch speaker, you're going to get more bass, but not as much as your sub. So with that said, let's say you have your 5-inch speaker and the lowest it can play is 80 hertz, okay? It can't play any lower than 80. So what you would do is you'd go to your sub and you would adjust like that crossover to around 80 hertz. But if you go more than 80 hertz, so let's say like the sub is now playing at 100 hertz, because, you know, it's like a low pass filter, so it filters out all like the high end. So if you filter out to, let's say, 100 hertz and your speaker is able to play down to 80 hertz, well, you have 20 like hertz that is like overlapping, and what that can cause is like a boost in those frequencies. So when it comes to mixing, it's like you're hearing double of those frequencies, and therefore you might mix it out when really it sounds fine, but it's because your sub and your speaker are both playing in that frequency area, and it's enhancing what might not actually be there. So what you would do to fix that is you would look on like the specs of your speakers, and you know, it'll always say like on the box or like online, you can just search up your speakers. It'll tell you what is like the frequency response of your speaker. It'll tell you like the low and the high, but you want to focus on the low for a subwoofer. And so once you check the specs on your speakers, like, so let's say it was 80 hertz, you would now go to your sub and you would adjust, you know, you'd put that crossover to 80 hertz. And the same thing if you had like a bigger speaker, like an 8-inch speaker, you just look up the specs, you just see how low your speaker can go, and then you adjust your sub according to like the lowest that your speaker can go, so that you don't get those boosted frequencies, so that your speakers are, you know, giving you a certain frequency spectrum, and then your sub is giving you the other low part of the spectrum. So what you're pretty much doing is like you're splitting up the frequency spectrum so that you can really hear it, you know, very well without the speaker and the sub crossing over and boosting up frequencies that, you know, might make you mix inaccurately. So the reason why I wanted to talk to you guys about the crossover is because it's very crucial to do with like your volume and mixing levels, okay? So for example, if your volume is too loud on your sub, well, what that's going to do is it's going to make it harder to mix. It might give you like a headache for, you know, for listening to a sub for too long, you know, of a time when you're mixing. Like by all means, like I like a sub, you know, I like the bass of my music, but when you want to mix accurately, you want to hear the track as it is. So if you're boosting your sub louder, you know, just because it sounds better to you, you're not going to be able to mix properly. So like the whole point is to adjust the sub so that you know, like you can actually hear the low end. So with that said, like when I adjust my subs volume, it's actually very, very quiet. But as you can see here, the SBX10 actually comes with a pedal, which is amazingly handy because what that allows you to do is as you're listening to the track, you can, you know, push down the pedal and it'll turn off the sub. But you can hear like the impact, you know, as if someone had a sub, and if someone didn't have a sub, you can actually hear what the difference is, you know, like is the sub actually making the impact, you know, stuff like that. So again, like when I adjust my volume for my sub, I actually adjust it very, very low in volume, and then I'll hit like the pedal, and then I'll hear, is it like can I hear it? And then, you know, just so that I'm getting a really transparent and accurate response, you know, for what I'm hearing, so I can mix properly. Okay, so those are two crucial points, your crossover and your volume. Okay, so again, like the crossover, just check online what the specs are on your speaker to see how low they go, and then adjust your sub, you know, in that range, just so that there's no overlap, and then, you know, it's not boosting frequencies, you know, so that you're mixing inaccurately. And then again, adjust your volume, you know, just to the point where you can hear the sub, but not so it's overpowering, as if like you're in like your buddy's car or something like that. Okay, so this is the back of the sub. I have a really in-depth video showing you guys how to actually set up a sub for like your home studio with your speakers and stuff like that. So check the link in the description to watch that, because I'm not going to go too in depth. I'm just going to give you guys, you know, my thoughts on, is this sub worth it, and you know, stuff like that. So you know, just a quick rundown though. So like you have like your input and your outputs, and you can either go XLR, TRS, or you can even go RCA. So it's super flexible when it comes to connectivity and stuff like that. And as you can see here is that crossover, okay? So again, like depending on your speakers, whether your speakers can only go like 80 hertz or like go 100 hertz or like 50 hertz, you just adjust it according to that. And then, you know, even from there, sometimes I'll still listen and I'll be like, you know, how does it sound? So like, just like as like you go like producing and stuff like that, you get used to like what your speakers sound like, and like what like your mixing environment, you know, like what it sounds like, because you know, as you go and listen to your beats in other audio systems, whether that be like in a car or like on earbuds and, you know, stuff like that, you really start to hear how your studio translates to like the real world. So if you look at my volume here, you can see like how low in volume I have my sub set. So if you look at the slot on the volume knob, it's going down, okay? So it's not up. So it's not at like 3, it's down closer to like -30. That's how low I have my sub set as I mix my music. You know, if you'd hear it, you know, like it's still audible. And then again, if you hit like the pedal, you can hear it go on and off. But just to give you an idea, like when I buy a sub for like audio production, I'm not buying the sub so I can listen to it loud in my car, right? I'm listening to it so as a producer, as a beat maker, as a mixer, I can get, you know, accurate results. So overall, like price wise and stuff like that, I do think it's a good bang for buck, considering what subs can get priced at for audio production subs. Like they can get up to like $2,000, $5,000, that kind of stuff, right? I got this for only $500. I did buy it new, so it's like one of like the lowest end models you can buy, but I just bought it, you know, just so I can get a nice low end response, so I can, you know, at least hear it. Like build wise and stuff like that, I'm pretty happy with it. The only thing that is a bit cheap with this sub is the feet. So the reason why I say that about the feet is because, you know, a sub, it vibrates a lot, right? These are like plastic and you screw them in. So once it vibrates and stuff like that, like it doesn't get like super loose, like, you know, but it does get, you know, like sometimes like I'll go and check them and it's just like, I can get like maybe like 2 or 3 turns on it. So sometimes they do loosen. These are actually pretty good. I got that one down to the bottom a little bit, but, and also if you have like a wood floor, you know what I mean? Like this is plastic, so it's going to vibrate. It's going to cause more noise, and that's what you do not want, you know? So this is just like what it looks like. You know, if you're on carpet, yeah, that's great. But what I've done is I have laid down a towel back here, and so like that just like helps like for like the plastic on the wood from it like not like vibrating loud. It's not like that I hear it because, you know, the music's usually louder probably than like the vibration, but it's just, you know, another thing to kind of keep in mind. You know, like with audio, it's always about trying to get like perfection, you know, like with like acoustic treatment. And, you know, that's the reason why they have for like your speakers, why they have those acoustic speaker pads, you know, so that you don't get like the vibration of the speaker on like a surface, you know. Okay, so here is the sub. You know, like the actual grill is pretty nice. I'll bring it up a little closer. You know, like the grill is nice. It doesn't feel very cheap. Here's like the SBX10 logo. So like by no means is this thing small. I do remember like when I picked up the sub from my local music store, like the box is like huge because this sub is sitting inside a box with like a styrofoam like lining all around it, and like the lining was like 2 inches all the way around, and then plus the box. So like this thing was just like huge. You know, it was like one of those purchases where you have like a huge smile on your face, you know, like walking out of the store with. But it's very hard to like compare speakers and compare like subs for music production, because it all depends like what room you're in and stuff like that. But like for like the bass response, like, you know, like what I'm hearing compared to what I hear on other audio systems, you know, I do feel that it translates very well. But again, like even saying that, it's kind of hard because, well, what if my volume was too loud? So I keep saying like, oh, well, it's not very accurate because I maybe mixed too much bass in when it's maybe not there or something like that. You know, like there's just too many differences in home studios to give, I guess like an answer like that, like to give you like a solid answer that yes, this is like the best sub, that kind of thing, you know what I mean? But overall, this sub has done me great. It's really allowed me to hear the low end of my music and therefore mix a lot more accurately. And also it's just more enjoyable to listen to too. Like you actually hear the full spectrum of your track, you know, like you hear like the high end, the mids, like you're kind of like low mids, you know, like, and then even if you're on like 5-inch speakers, you hear like your kick hitting, but you don't like feel it, you know what I mean? Like you don't really feel that impact. If you have a sub, man, it's like you can like really hear as if like you're in a car with like a nice audio system, you know what I mean? So this sub right here is it's a 10-inch sub. I haven't heard a 12-inch, but I did see online that they do sell 12-inch subs, which would be, you know, pretty cool to try out, whatever. I'll give you guys also a little kind of story of my experience with the SBX10. So I've actually had 2 different pairs of speakers, but the sub has stayed. So I first started with the M Audio, I think BX5A Deluxe speakers. So like they're just like 5-inch reference monitor speakers made by like the same company as this sub, M Audio. I'm not really sure where M Audio is right now in the audio industry. Like I know that they've kind of sold some of their products to Avid, who makes Pro Tools and stuff like that. But anyway, so when I first bought you know, some audio production gear for making beats, I bought the speakers, okay? So I bought the BX5A Deluxes, and you know, cause like if you're new to making beats, like all this stuff's really exciting, you know what I mean? So I ordered just the speakers, and I did not have the sub. The sub came later, okay? So I just got the 5-inch speakers, and they looked really cool, you know what I mean? Like they look really professional, you know, like they're like a speaker cabinet, all that kind of stuff. They shipped to me, and you know, they come in like a decently sized box, and you know, I couldn't wait to plug them in and hear them. I was just like, man, like these are just gonna sound awesome. Like they're just gonna sound so full and everything. And I remember like the very first second that I heard those 5-inch M Audio BX5A Deluxes, I was so like disappointed because I could not hear like the bass, and I was thinking that there's gonna be so much bass in these 5-inch speakers, but like there wasn't, and I was so disappointed. So I was like, okay, well, what's my alternative? Like do I get a bigger speaker, or do I just get a sub? And so that's what I did. So I went with the subwoofer. So I first started with just the speakers. I was very disappointed in their sound. So then I got the sub. Okay, now at this time in my production career, I had the sub and the speakers, and that was quite good. I was very happy with that because I was able to hear like the bass, you know what I mean? Like bass really has a huge impact on your track, on like the emotion and the feeling, right? Like you actually feel the bass, whereas like the higher end, it just allows you for like clarity and stuff like that. And then I got to the point in my production career where I was like, do you know what? I think I want to buy some higher quality reference monitors because, you know, like there is a reason why there's more expensive speakers compared to like lower end models, right? And I had a very, very low end model, like the M Audio BX5A Deluxe. They're like $300 for like the pair, you know what I mean? So I looked around and then I got the Yamaha's HS80Ms. And so this time around, I got an 8-inch speaker, okay? So again, you know, I bring the speaker home, really excited, hoping to hear, you know, a lot more low end because it's a bigger speaker. You know, when I heard it, I was still a little disappointed because, you know, just like how big these reference monitors are, like you expect a lot of bass out of them, you know what I mean? But even like my 8-inch speakers right now, like I still hear the low end, but it's just not the same as when I have a sub. So I have heard this sub on 2 different types of speakers, and the sub it's been great. Like I actually have no complaints with the sub at all, and like the pedal is just an amazing feature to be able to hear with and without a sub. And I also liked the setup now with the 8-inch speaker and the sub compared to like the 5 inches and the sub. And I think the reason I like it more is because the sub doesn't have to maybe work as hard. Like it isn't having to try and reach those higher frequencies. Like the sub can actually focus on being a sub, whereas on the 5-inch, the sub kind of has to compensate for a little bit higher frequencies, you know. But if you have the bigger speaker, an 8-inch speaker, which allows you to get lower down, the sub doesn't have to play as high of frequencies. So hopefully this review has given you guys some insight onto having a sub in your home studio. You know, if you guys are kind of researching different subs to buy and stuff like that, and even if having a sub is worth it, again, you know, I do think it's worth it. But if you don't have a sub, I will tell you, you're definitely missing out on hearing just like the full frequency spectrum of your sound. Okay, so this is the M Audio SBX10. I hope this video has helped you out. I'm GratuiTous. This is Beatstruggles.com. And if you guys are not yet aware, Beatstruggles has a free production course. All you guys got to do is just sign up with your email, and you guys are taken on a series of emails. That link will be in the description. It's Beatstruggles.com/free-course. Okay, if you guys have any questions, just leave them in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys later.